Okay, guys, this is the guided practice, which was on page 188. I asked you to do 1 through 5. The answers are as follows. Number 1 is 24. Number 2 is 42. Number 3 is 270. Number 4 is about 8. And number 5, you have to see the work. You have to see the video, okay? Now, for questions 1, 2, and 3, the directions are the same. Estimate each product. By all means, please use your notes. Okay. 5.8. Ones place. Ones place. Well, this is, okay, so we have a 5. We look to the right. We have 5.8. Well, this is 5 or more. I'm going to add 1. That becomes 6. To bring out decimal, that becomes 0. 6.0 times 4. Now, what are we going to do with that? Now, just to remind you, I'm going to put a little decimal point in a 0. It's really 4.0. Now, 0 or, if it's 4 or less, the number stays the same. So the whole number just stays the whole number. There's no part to look at to the right. It just is what it is, right? A single whole number like this with no decimal number, no decimal point or number or part, it just stays the same. So now we have 6 times 4 and the answer is 24. So 5.8 times 4 is about 24. Okay? Pretty straight. Oh, you know what? Let me change that. This, about, not equal. It's about. And actually, let's think about this. 5.8 times 4. Let me ask you something. Will the answer be less than 24 or more than 24? Take a moment, think about that. Well, it's going to be less because we don't actually have 6. We got the 24. When we change this to 6, we actually have less than 6, so you're going to have less than 24. Okay, just think about that. So when you look at your answer and you're done, check back. Does it make sense? Does the answer make sense? Is it reasonable? All right, number 2. 13.92 times 7. 2.7. Okay. Greatest place value, greatest place value. We have the 10s and the 1s. We're not going to change this to 10. I think I already told you that. Or we're definitely not going to change it to 0. Okay? If you were to do this to the nearest tens place for both of them, just no way. No. Not going to happen. But anyways, 13.92. You're focusing on the 1. You look to the right, that's 3. So this stays the same. Everything else becomes 0 after it. You look at the 2. The number after it is more than 5. So actually 5 or more. Okay, forgetting, I always think it's more than 5. But the rule is if it's 5 or more, right? So you add 1. It becomes 3. This becomes 0. 3.0. 10 times 3. 30. So 13.92. Wait, what? Now, hold on. I just realized something. Here I said 30. And here I said 42. What happened? Where did I go wrong? Now, here's the thing with estimating. With the rules I just gave you, what I did isn't wrong. What did the book do differently? Now, we have to think logically. The reason we didn't go to the tens place, because 2.7 is nowhere near 10. That would be way too much. We'd get a not reasonable answer, right? Let's look at what happened here. 13.92 times 2.7. The actual answer, 13.92 times 13.92 times 2.7. The actual answer is 37.584. Okay, that's just not enough. So, you know what? It's a whole 9 rule again, right? 1392 is actually much closer to 14 than 10. right? So in situations like this, you have to use your better judgment. On a quiz, if you write 30, I will give it to you, because based on the rules that I said earlier, I'll go with it. But a better answer, hopefully you can see this, would be 14. So I'm going to redo this with what I just said. Okay. This, again, you add 1. And here they looked at the ones place. Huh. Interesting. That becomes 4. Now this is something we didn't do before. Everything to the right becomes a 0. What about everything to the left? It stays the same. You don't add anything, but it stays the same. So now we have 14.00 times 3.0. Okay, or 14 times 3. Now we get something that's more reasonable. We get 42. Okay, so the answer for this is about 42. That makes more sense. Okay. Now, you know, I'm going to be honest with you. I would like to say that I planned it out this way. No, I did not. I just went ahead and did it like I normally would. But this is one of the reasons why people don't like estimating sometimes. Now, I see it does make the math easier, right? It does. But at the same time, you get all kinds of answers. Now, I will give you this one piece of advice, and I should have remembered this myself. When in doubt, better to overestimate than underestimate. More often than not, that's true. There's always going to be exceptions, but for the most part, it's going to be true. So the minute, if I'd really been paying attention, the minute I saw 1392 to 10, no, let's go with something else. Okay? So your advice for you and my advice for me is pay attention. Okay? There we go, number 3. So if you did the same thing I did, don't feel bad. You just saw me, and I'm a teacher, and I've been doing this for a while. I still get caught off guard. All right? So here we go. $94.89 times 3.11. Now, with what I just said, I'm going to do the rest in pencil because I want to think first, which is good advice for anything, right? So, ones place, tens place. Okay. All right, this one should be pretty basic. This one, no doubts, no complaints. 3.11. All right, let's do the 3 stays the same because that's just 4 or less. Decimal point. This becomes 0. This becomes 0. All right, that one's done. Now this one. Rounded to the nearest tens place, I look. Okay. I have 94. This stays the same. Everything else becomes 0. Okay. Okay. 90 times 3. 270. But let's consider this. I could have just as easily said, with what I just said, this is really close to 95. I could have done, let me do this. And maybe this will help us figure out when to use which, or how to round, or where to round, and all that. This becomes 5. This stays the same. We already know this is going to be 3. Okay, now, remember that one of the first goals I said was to make the math easier to do in your head. I could do this in my head, but I have to admit, this is much easier. And that's what the book shows too. Much easier. 270. You do what you think is best for you, what works best. But you know what, not saying what I just said, let's look at the other one that we just did. I just want to review something. This was definitely much easier to do in my head. I think that's why I did what I did. This, I can still do in my head too. So, and I will show you something, just maybe, I shouldn't do this, but I'm going to show you anyways. Sample answers. So that means there is more than one answer with estimating, but do try to get as close to the original as you can. Okay? In this case, 14 does work better because it's better. It's closer. But this is faster to do in your head, right? So estimating. For this reason, it's not my favorite thing to do, but I do it, and you saw what happened. So just keep that in mind. If you get it wrong, you that's the same answer as the book. Don't panic. Think it through. Ask yourself, why did they do that in the book? Why did they choose that answer over something else? Like I just did right now. They got this, but I could have just as easily done this. That would be 95. That'd be 3 times 15. 285. Okay. I can do this in my head too, but this is much easier. I have to admit that. Okay. Anyways, let's go. Number 4. We have a word problem. A grocery store sells American cheese for $3.89 per pound. About how much would a dollar... Sorry. Apparently I need to learn how to read. Let me read it again. A grocery store sells American cheese for $3.89 per pound. About how much would 1.89 pounds, or 1 89/100th of a pound, of the cheese cost? So we're talking about cheese. Woo-hoo. All right. It's $3.89 per pound times $1.89 a pound. Okay, now here's the thing. I will say this right now. When I'm buying stuff at the store, I'd rather overestimate. Because the last thing I want to do is get caught at the cash register not having enough money. That's kind of embarrassing. For me, anyways. I mean, as an adult, kind of embarrassing. As a kid, you can get away with it. But here we go. Luckily, they both have the one's place as the highest place value. Let's just do what we got to do. All right, $3.89. Again, you should know that by now. This looks like it's pretty close to $4, right? You add 1 because this is 5 or more. Plus 1, that becomes 4. Decimal 0, 0. Beautiful. This, the place value is 5 or more. It's 8. So this becomes 2. All right. And that's just 4 times 2. 8. So this is about 8. Now let's take a step back and look what's actually there. That makes about good sense, right? At $4, $2, you can see it in your head without even doing anything. You probably didn't even need to do all this. You can just do it in your head. 4 times 2 is 8. And that's the whole beauty of estimating. 4 times 2 is much easier to multiply than 3.89 times 1.89. Oh, my goodness. And to be fair, most people used to pull out their phone and use a calculator anyways. But if you don't have your phone out on you or the battery's low and you don't want to waste it on figure out math, this is why we do estimating. This is why it's useful. All right, last one. Greg has 52 megabytes left on his MP3 player. He wants to download 7 songs that each use 7.9 megabytes of memory. He estimates that he will need 56 megabytes of memory. Is his estimate reasonable? Explain your reasoning. All right. So we know, and we've all done this, although for our phones now we talk about gigabytes, but when you get low on memory on your phone and you're trying to take pictures and you're like, oh, how many more songs or how many more pictures can I take or how much more video can I take before I run out of memory? But in this case, we're just talking about songs. Okay. He only has this much more memory left. All right. He wants to download 7 songs, and each song is 7.9. Hallelujah. This we can do real fast. Okay. 7.9 is really close to 8, and I'll show you why. Okay. I look at the ones place, I look to the right, that's 5 or more, which is 9 is 5 or more, obviously. I add 1, that's 8.0. The 7 just stays 7. And 7 times 8 is 56. So, is this a reasonable answer? Well, yeah. This is really close to 8. I mean, might as well just go with that. Okay? So, yeah. This is a reasonable answer. Yes. This is a reasonable answer. This is reasonable. All right, and that is guided practice.